Hey, good morning. I'm going to go ahead and start my midterm exam. I'm going to share the screen to the document. Somewhere in here. One moment. Here it is. I'm going to share the screen to the document. Go ahead and put my name and date. Let's get this thing started. So, well, first I'm going to go ahead and save my document so I can save my work as I go. All right. So, use PSD file question. Use PSD file question 1, 2, and 3, and PSD file final to answer the questions. To answer the three questions, the first three questions. All right, so that of course is referring to the files that are downloaded from Moodle. One moment. There we go. I gotta hit back to meeting. I was wondering what was happening there. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen to my Finder window. So I can see what I'm opening. So this is the final PSD. And what we're using are, excuse me. Excuse me. This is the final. Here we go. Question 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to go ahead and open this in Photopia. So I'm navigating to my Chrome browser, open from computer. Alternatively, I could use File, Open. So I'm going to select the question 1, 2, and 3 document and hit enter, or rather file. All right, so now I'm going to navigate back to the document and take it step by step. Use the rectangular marquee tool, magic wand tool, and tolerance to select the 5. Move the 5 to the book to match the final. Save it as a new file to upload. So let's break it down, take it step by step. All right, so I'm going to select the rectangular marquee tool, the magic tool, and the tolerance tool in order to select the 5. So this is the 5 that we're referring to. Let me make sure my screen sharing is operating right. I'm looking at this screen now, folks. This one. All right, okay, I think it's good now. All right, so the rectangular marquee tool, I use the letter M to, hotkey select it. Now I'm going to drag it around the 5. I didn't like my original selection, so I use Command D to deselect. So I'm checking my directions again. Use the rectangular marquee tool, the magic wand tool, and the tolerance to select the 5. All right, so now that I have my selection made with the marquee tool, I'm gonna use the magic wand and click within that selection in order to get a more specific selection. So I'm using the command and plus key to zoom in, and then the hand key to drag in order to get a better view of the 5. Using the hotkey W to switch to the magic wand tool. All right, so I'm going to do this until I get it with the selection that I'm looking for. So I see that the shadows are causing some issues for me. So what I'm going to do is look at the final result to see what exactly I'm supposed to be looking for and how the final is supposed to look. So it is supposed to be just the 5. So I'm going to go ahead and get the selection the way I best know how. So the marquee tool to start, then the magic wand tool to continue. Now I'm just going to hold shift as I get the rest of the magic wand tool. Actually, that's not the best way either. So what I'm typically used to would be in a selection like maybe this here with a much more singular background. You use the marquee tool to create a rectangle around it so that you're blocking out all of this excess, and then you simply use the magic wand tool to select the background. You could delete the background, or you could select the background in order to get an active selection around the flower, and then you could select inverse to actually have the flower. Oh, I might have done that backwards actually. Okay, I did that backwards, but the flower is actually selected here. All right, so now I can move just the flower. However, I'm having trouble doing that with the 5 down here because the background is not singular. It has shadows and such. So there's a few options I have. I could adjust the levels or the levels or the exposure in order to try to get rid of the shadow. And there's also the option of using a different selection tool, but I don't think that I'm going to be able to do it very well with just the marquee tool and the magic wand. So what I'm going to do is see which of those options best fits the final result that I'm looking for, which is the 5 being selected and on its own. So let me go ahead and try to do that. First, I think I am going to try the background trick with the adjustment of exposure. So let's see, if I raise the exposure, you can't see the 5 anymore. So I'm going to not do that. How about if what if I adjust the levels, excuse me, the brightness and contrast. Contrast up, brightness, can't do brightness too high. But if we turn the contrast up, it looks like the shadow kind of goes away some. But I'm going to go ahead and not do those either. I'm just going to use one of the lasso tools. The regular lasso tool is fine. I personally have some issues using it just because I'm on a Mac laptop, and it's not that easy to draw with the trackpad. So what I'll try to do is start with the lasso tool and maybe fix it up with the magnetic lasso tool or the polygonal lasso tool. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that marquee selection. I don't think it's really doing me that much good here. As a matter of fact, I'm just gonna start with the magnetic lasso tool. I think that'll help more because the colors are pretty distinct. I think it'll be able to distinguish. So what I'm doing, I'm clicking once and dragging around the figure, and what that will do is create anchor points. And these anchor points constitute the selection area. They're drawn about the parts of the figure that the program recognizes as similar, so especially in color in this instance. And so I'm just going to keep dragging, and once I finish going all the way around, I hope to have something very close to the actual shape of the 5 so that my selection can be as clean as I want it. What is not properly selected, I intend to use the magic wand tool in order to rectify with the addition and detraction settings. All right, so now that I've reached the end of my figure, I'm going to click again and double click rather. Ah, shucks. I'm going to hit undo. Okay, there we go. So I use Command plus Z to do unzoom. All right, so now I have my selection decently made, and I can drag it, and it's almost justified, but I do have a little bit right there that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to go to the brush tool, not the brush tool, but the object selection. Let's see what we have to work with. All right, so that's unite. I'm looking for subtract. Let's see if it'll let me subtract from this selection. Not like that. Not like that. Let's see. Quick selection is what I'm looking for. There we go. Gotta know your tools. I can't work without my tools, man. All right, so that undid the whole selection. So I'm gonna hold shift and try this again. And that is doing the opposite of what I want. So that's because it switched to positive. All right. So there's always a way to get around complications in Photoshop. I say that because there's always more than one way to do something. So what I'm going to do in the event that this doesn't work properly is go ahead and take my selection as it is and use the eraser tool to eliminate the part that I don't need. However, it appears that this is going as expected. It was just taking a little bit of time. Look at it, it comes through when it wants to. All right, so I'm going to use Command minus to zoom out some so I can get a better view of everything. I'm going to use V to select the Move tool, or I can just hold Command and click and drag. So now I have my 5. Now in this instance, I can see that I can actually use the original instruction. I'm going to press Enter. I'm going to press Command D to deselect. I can use the original instructions to create a marquee box around the 5, and then use the magic wand tool, switching that to what magic wand tool from the quick selection tool. I can use the magic wand to select the area around the 5, and then simply drag the 5, of course excluding the flower part. All right, so now let me return to my document to see what my instructions say. Use the rectangular marquee tool and friends, and the magic wand tool and tolerance to select the 5. Let me go back. So after everything I just did, let me see that tolerance part might have been more important than I noticed. So I'm going to open up a new document of the same questions 1, 2, and 3 file. I'm going to see if I can do it with tolerance this time. Yeah, I think tolerance is on, but so it's set to 32, and I believe that's what it was in the lesson. But I think it may just be a result of this being Photopia and not Photoshop. Let me try this one more time. Using the marquee tool, then using the magic wand tool. It just selects more than I need, but would you look at that? It does seem to be getting closer and closer. And that's much closer to what I was looking for originally. What I'm doing is just using the magic wand tool in combination. So it's on the subtract setting. So what it's doing is subtracting the parts from the background. All right, folks, there you go. I did a lot of alternative editing, but this is the way that it was originally supposed to be done, and the key was tolerance. So look at that, learning on the spot. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this document, which is the duplicate that I made to show the actual steps of doing it like the document said, with the lasso tool, or the marquee tool, and the magic wand tool, and tolerance. I'm going to delete that one, and I'm going to go on to the next part of question 1, which says move the 5 to the book to match the final, and then save it as a new file to upload. All right, closing this one and checking the final to see how it is I'm supposed to move it. According to the final, I'm supposed to move this number 5 to the corner, the upper left-hand corner of the book. So that I will do. I'll just undo until I have the correct selection again. There we go. So there that is. I don't want it to go off the edge of the page. Let me check the document. Let me check the final document. Yeah, in the final it's not off the edge, so I'm going to keep it within the document. There we go. All right, and now I'm going to save it with Command S, and it's downloading to my downloads folder. I'm going to save that in Midterm work files. I'm going to click and drag that over there and go on to step 2, question 2. All right. Use the lasso tool and the polygonal lasso tool to select the pen. Move the pen to the book to match the final. Save it as a new file to upload. So selecting the pen with the polygonal lasso tool and the lasso tool is the first step. I'm going to zoom in using Command plus. I could also use the zoom tool, which can be accessed with the letter Z or by clicking on it in the corner here. And then what I'm going to do right now is use the lasso tool and the polygonal lasso tool to select the pen. This time I'm going to go ahead and explore the way that the directions say to do it. I thought I had adequately explored them the last time, but I was wrong. It turns out that there was a way to do it. I had missed a crucial part. So I'm going to deselect and try that again because I got within the barrier of the pen. We don't color in the lines or outside of the lines here. We don't do that. So I'm tracing the pen, and once again on this trackpad, it's a little bit difficult to get as precise as I want. If this is a desktop computer with a regular mouse, it might be a little bit easier. But what I can do is zoom in using Command Plus. Again, use the hand tool to move, and then I can use the polygonal lasso tool to sharpen my selection. So right now I'm on replace. Let's try the replace option. I think that'll be fine. So I clicked once. Actually, let me see. Let me try this all again because I'm clicking escape. I'm pressing escape to cancel it. I think it may be easier if I just zoom in and try the lasso tool from a closer distance. So I'm going to use Command D to deselect what I've had so far. I'm just going to take it slower. I'm going to do a more close selection. Even with the trackpad, this is sort of possible. Well, I might be taking that back. Might be taking that back and going back with the polygonal lasso tool. So to me, it's always a sort of a game of what's the best tool for this job right here. As I mentioned earlier, there's always a different way of doing something in Photoshop, but the question is always, okay, here's the task at hand. What is the way that I want to do it? What is the way that is most appropriate to get the job done? Out of all the ways that are there, which one am I going to be using? So in this case, I've started with the regular lasso tool. I've now moved to the polygonal lasso tool because it does a better job of making the specific selections that I need. I've gone from needing a more general trace to needing a much more precise selection. So that's why I'm using the polygonal lasso tool to get those angles a little bit more precise. All right, so I'm scrolling as I go along, and I don't want this browser to go back. So what I'm going to do, instead of scrolling my hands, using my fingers to scroll in the opposite direction, which will cause the browser to go back, I'm going to actually zoom out with Command minus. So I'll do that in a moment. Still making the selection, still keeping it as precise as I can. This is a quill, so I want it to come to a point if possible. Or rather, this is a pen, a fountain pen. Ah, look at that. Knowledge of old items. I've never used a fountain pen, but I think it would be kind of cool. All right, so I'm reaching the other side, and what I'm going to do is use the Command minus hotkey to zoom out right here. Oh, would you look at that? I won't be needing to. It's actually going to scroll to the left for me. Look at you, Photopia. All right, then. All right, so I'm taking this selection up and along and along. Still doing my best to keep it as tight as possible because I don't want it to look sloppy when I'm done. And so when this selection is finished, I will be able to move the pen on its own, of course, without the background, and that's what I want. All right, almost reached the other side. All right, now we're there. So what I'm going to do is press enter to confirm the collection, the selection rather, and zoom out so I have a better view of everything. All right, so there's my pen. I'm going to return to my document to see what my directions say. Use the lasso tool and the polygonal lasso tool to select the pen. Move the pen to the hook to match the final. Save it as a new file to upload. So I'm going to check my documents. I'm rather going to check my final document to see where this pen is supposed to go. It's supposed to go on the lower left-hand corner of the book with the fountain head down at the bottom pointing to the right. So what I'm going to do, make sure I have full view. I'm going to use the move tool by pressing V. I'm going to drag the pen, and I'm going to use file, or rather edit, transform, rotate. I'm going to rotate it such that it is facing the direction in the final. I'm going to hold shift so I can get some common angles of rotation. I think that should do it. Let me check the final. Yeah, that's about right. What's that, 45 degrees, I think? And I'm going to press enter to confirm that. Well, actually, no, I'm gonna go ahead and move it while it's still in the selection box. That looks about right to me. So I'm gonna press enter to confirm that selection. Press Command D to deselect the pen. I'm actually gonna go back and reselect it. I'm gonna move it up just a little bit more because in the never mind. Don't worry about it. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to save it, Command S, and it's saved as a PSD file. I'm going back to my Finder window. I'm going to drag that into my work files, midterm work files. Stop right where you are. Rename the file. I'm going to call that underscore pen. Bada bing, bada boom. Keep it moving. We go ahead and drag that into the work files right there. I'm going to rename this first one 5, just for clarity's sake. It's very important to be clear, especially when you're working with yourself, because you don't want to confuse yourself. All right, so then we're going back to the document. Question number 2 is down and in the books. Question number 3, select, move, and duplicate the globe. Make sure to invert it. Move the globe to the book to match the final. So let's check what the final is. The final has 3 globes, just like in the lesson that we did. They're in varying size. They're all inverted. They're in increasing size or decreasing depending on which perspective you're looking from. So let me go ahead and select the globe first. Does it tell me exactly how to select, move, and duplicate the globe? That's what I'm talking about. I can do it however I need to. This is when it gets fun because there's so many ways to select something in Photoshop. You just pick your way. All right, so it's just the actual globe. We're not including the mechanical rotation piece that we can see, around it here. So it's going to be important to make sure we just get that. The globe is a sphere, and a sphere in a 2-dimensional space is a circle, or you could even call it an ellipses. So let's use the elliptical selection tool. Just for the fun of it, we're going to start at the center, hold the Option key, and drag out. We're going to hold Shift to make it a perfect circle, and then we're going to hold Space bar in order to move it around as we're selecting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I actually didn't know you could do that until the lesson. So what I'm going to do Let's see if I can get this selection correct. I'm going to release the Option key and go ahead and do it from the side, because I think that's going to serve my purpose a little better. All right. Almost got a good selection. Almost. I think that right there might be decent. Let's check it out. Using the Command Z command, Command minus command to zoom out, and using the Move key to click and drag. Let's see how we're looking. I think that's decent. Let's see what we have on the final and see if that matches it. Yep, that matches it. All right. Of course, now we have to invert it. It very clearly reminds us not to forget to invert it. All right. So select, move, and duplicate the globe. Make sure to invert it. I'm going to go ahead and invert it first so that all of my duplicates will be inverted already. So I'm going to use file, image, adjustments, and invert, or I could use Command and I to invert. And so of course you see down here that it went on and changed the colors to the opposites of the spectrum. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and drag that up using the Move key. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and hold Command and just drag it like that. That'll do the same. Yeah, that'll do the same. So dragging it up to the corner of the book as it is seen in the final. Okay, but actually in the final, it's the smallest globe. The smallest globe is actually a little bit above the book. So let me adjust that properly. About right there. Yeah, that looks about right. So now I'm going to use the Move tool to duplicate them, duplicate the globe. I'm going to hold the Option key and drag, and that will make a duplicate. Then as I do that, I'm going to go ahead and use Edit, Transform, Scale. I really like Free Transform because it gives you all the options at once, but this is what we used in the lesson, so I'll go ahead and stick with that for now. And then I'm going to also click and drag to move it while I'm scaling it. Let me see how much is shown in the original. Okay, so I want to show at least a little bit of the continent of Africa. I see what you're doing there, pro-black. That's a joke, but I think that it's a nice composition and a way to orient the duplicates. So I'm going to hit Enter to confirm the selection, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to hold Option, click and drag, and with this one also I'm going to use Edit, Transform, Scale, and I'm going to increase the size. I'm holding Shift. I don't think that's actually necessary here, but if it is necessary, then what it is doing is keeping the expansion, the scale increase uniform, so that it's not wonky. All right, so I'm going to hit Enter to confirm the selection, and I'm going to hit Command D to deselect. I'm going to use Command S to save it, that is to download it, and let me check the document to make sure that I'm in the green zone. Move the globe to the book to match the final. Save it as a new file to upload. Excelente. It's here in my downloads. I'm going to rename it as underscore globe. That at the end for clarity's sake. Gotta be clear. Moving on to the midterms work files. And now we're going back to the document. All right, in the image, perform a color replacement. So this is referring to the image of the butterfly. In the image, perform a color replacement on all of the orange areas of the butterfly. So let me go ahead and ensure that this document is looking right. Now the directions didn't tell me to do this, so I won't. But had they told me to ensure that the final looked exactly like the final, the final document, I would actually have used the crop tool to eliminate everything outside of this box selection. And then I also would have used probably the white brush. I would have used the brush tool with the white selected in order to get rid of these areas here that kind of come into that selection. I would just color over them. All right, so I have my file saved, so I'm gonna go ahead and close that. I'm gonna open from computer the image of the butterfly for question 4. All right, so going back to the document, it tells me in the image, perform a color replacement on all of the orange areas of the butterfly. So a color replacement is very easy, but it's very cool. I'm gonna go to the brush tool using the B key. I'm gonna make sure I'm on the color replacement option. I'm gonna color replace the orange with blue. So I'm gonna find an orange area, just get to coloring. And as I get to color in that orange area, I'm gonna find all the other orange areas and just keep on coloring. And the cool thing about the color replacement tool is that it actually senses the similarity in color when it gets to these other orange spots. So I don't really have to worry too much about coloring outside the lines. As I said, I am going to stay within the scope of the actual butterfly wings because some of the elements of nature around it are also, they may be recognized as orange as well. I've gone ahead and selected a larger brush because I do want to, kind of just sweep through and color everything at once. So I don't want to accidentally color any of the outside elements blue as well. So that's why I'm being careful to stay within the realm of the butterfly's wings. Gotta be thorough because this is a butterfly. You want it to look nice. Butterflies, they don't go out looking raggedy. So you go through and you color all of the orange areas. I actually will get a smaller brush for some of the more minute spots. All right, so switching to a smaller brush and also zooming in, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the brush tool, switch it from 92 down to about 20, and go to work. All right, so these are honestly arguably white, but I'll stick with that for now. Moving up to the head. Switching to the brush tool easily with the B key. Now, I'm not positive that this is what was intended when the directions said all of the orange parts. This is showing to me as pretty orange, so I'm going to go ahead and color it. There we go, that should be decent. That's the whole butterfly just about, huh? That's the blue butterfly. All right then. In the image, perform a color replacement on all of the orange areas of the butterfly. I'm going to go ahead and save that just for general purposes, call it butterfly 1, because it may be a butterfly 2. Well, I'll just call it butterfly because it's already on question 4, so I know it's going to be question 4. All right. What's question 5 got to say? Using your answer from question 4, adjust the levels of the area of the color replacement only. Save it as a new file to upload. All right. So now I'm going to use the magnet lasso tool to go ahead and select the area. Nothing too complicated. I'm just going to go ahead and make the selection in order to keep the levels change contained to the color swapped area. So let me see if it'll load those anchors. Oh, it didn't even start. Now let's try that again. Oh, that's because I'm not using the magnet. I'm using the polygamy. Would you look at that? Right, there it goes. Oh, it's missing me. It's missing me. Try that again. Click once there to establish the anchor. Click once here to establish the anchor. Click once there to establish the anchor, and so on and so on. So the magnetic lasso tool is just going to be the means by which I'm going to make sure it's only the colored area that I'm adjusting the levels for. Bada bing, bada boom, worldwide. And now I'm going to image adjustment levels. I'm going to drag the gray block here to the right to increase the brightness. Decrease the brightness. And there we go. That's pretty significantly adjusted levels. Looks like a tiger butterfly, a blue tiger butterfly. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save the selection, save it as a file to download. I'm going to go ahead and deselect before I do that. Command S. So let's wait. Excuse me. I'm going to call this one question 5 underscore blue butterfly. The other one was just butterfly. This one's blue butterfly. All right, so now I'm going back to my document. Using your answer from question 4, I already did that one actually. Move along. In the image, merge the layers using your keyboard. Make sure you can use all of the planets. All right. All right. Closing that, opening question 6. Merge the layers. Make sure you can see all of the planets. So let me first make sure you can see all of the planets because you can't. You can't see all the planets right now. Oh, say can you see? All right, so I'm going to image adjustment. Now I'm going to edit, transform, scale. Let's bring this one down a notch or 12. It's going to put you in the upper right hand corner right here. Matter of fact, it can get smaller than that. We want to see everybody. This isn't just show planet Earth. Have some consideration for the other planets of the galaxy. All right, so I'm using edit, transform, and scale. Then I'm holding shift as I drag. I'm hitting enter to confirm that. I'm just moving down from layer to layer. You know, nice and slow. Look at that, Earth just disappearing. That's a shame. That's a shame. Then move that one to the upper left-hand corner. Then I'm going to move to the second to last layer. I probably will also adjust the scope of the background because the prompt wants me to make sure that all of the planets are visible. So I'm not sure just yet, but I might do that as well. I might not. I actually might not because you can't kind of see them all. Let's find out. It'll be based on this last layer. Edit, transform, and scale. And so again, free transform lets you do the scale, the rotation, and all that. Personally, that's my go-to. And you can use the Command Control T or Command T. However, since the book, I don't think the book used free transform yet. I think I'll go ahead and pass on it this time. Look at that. Who is that? The moon? Yeah, I'll let it stay in the background. I'll leave it unadjusted. I'll hit enter to confirm that. All right, and now to merge all of the layers, holding shift. Layers merged. Oops. That's what Command E to do with the keyboard. That's what the direction said. So let me make sure about that. Merge the layers using your keyboard. Make sure that all the planets, make sure you can see all of the planets. All right, so I've got all the layers selected. Matter of fact, I missed the background, so Command E. Ow! All right, and that's done. I'm gonna save that for general purposes. We're gonna call that question 6, planets. Why? Because it's question number 6 and it has planets in it. Underscore planets. Hashtag question 6 complete. All right, let's see what question 7 says. We're dealing with a whole new document, a whole new image now. So let's go ahead and close that and open question 7. It's got a dinosaur and copy dinosaurs to its own layer. All right, can do. The first thing that you want to do is make the selection of the dinosaur. So I am most recently a fan of the magnetic lasso tool. So I think we're going to stick with that. And I honestly like to keep it kind of zoomed out when I do what I do because it just allows me to move faster, I feel. So I'm going to go ahead and click once and allow it to start making selections. This right here is going to need some help, it looks like. Click once to confirm that selection. Click once to confirm that selection. I want to click so that it doesn't go ahead and start latching on to other things that I don't want it to get. If I click, it goes ahead and lets the program know, okay, I'm good with this. Now let's focus on what's next. And I definitely like that here. So I'm clicking, as I go along to do just that. And I'm gonna let Photopia drag it along, drag the workspace so I could see more. Not a bad feature if I do say so myself. And so it actually it messed up the selection there. So I'm going to go ahead and actually zoom out, and I'm going to rectify that part later. There's that. Then I'm going to go down. Now down here, there's definitely a lot of need to be careful because selection of this dark area is very similar to the green, forests, mountains in the background. We don't want those. So I'm just going to click to confirm these selections to see how much of the unwanted area I can avoid selecting. I'm going to go back with the quick selection tool to adjust some of the selection as well. You can see the blur of the dinosaur moving its leg here. Now that's what I call some up close photography. That's what I call some slow shutter photography. Just kidding. Just kidding. These are the jokes, folks. All right, so I'm almost done selecting the dinosaur with the magnetic lasso tool. Once I get to the end, you see it goes ahead and makes that selection for me. Because I'm not entirely satisfied with it, I'm gonna go in and add to the selection by using the quick selection tool. There it goes. I'm gonna add to it. I'm just gonna hold shift and just dab it a little bit. Oh no, not that. It selected too much. All right, let me see. What if I decrease the size of the brush? Maybe that will also decrease the sensitivity. Certainly not to 500, but rather to 3. Let's give it a whirl. All right, so it doesn't look like that's happening. You can go back to the lasso tool and hold shift. That should help us out. Very well, very good. As a matter of fact, that may have been a more genius move than I anticipated. So, prompt tells me to make the dinosaur its own layer. Copy the dinosaur to its own layer. I like Command J for this purpose. There may, as there always is, be another way to do this as well. You can do layer, duplicate, layer. So Command J. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and save that with Command S. That's gonna be question 7, dinosaur. Drag that into the midterm work files folder and return to the document for further instruction. Question number 8, now we're getting into the short answer. It's a quiz now. How can you move a selection while you're drawing it? You can hold the space bar. We did that earlier with the elliptical the elliptical selection tool. You can hold the space bar while you are making selection. Oh, let me speak in a complete sentence. In order to move a selection while you're drawing it, you can hold the spacebar while you are making the selection. Look at that piece of knowledge. Some Photoshop knowledge right there. I'm going to underline this. What is the difference between Control D and Command D? I am glad you asked. That is Control difference between control D, control plus D, and command plus D is that one is on Windows and the other is on, the former is on Windows and the latter is on Macintosh computers. I wonder if Apple or Windows will sponsor this video once I put it up for my midterm submission. Are they allowed to do that? Probably not. Capitalizing off of the education of the United States of America. It is a capitalism system, so who knows? What are the two ways to deselect a selection? Well, you can use Command/Control plus D. Or you can choose select, deselect. For example, like so. How does the magnetic lasso tool work? Now that is a question that I know the answer to because I've been using it the whole time. Just use it on the dinosaur. Magnetic lasso tool works by creating anchor points around the selection as the user draws. Furthermore, the user can click to confirm anchor points while selection. And it proves quite useful as it did recently while I was doing the questions. Name the selection tools. Let me see, you have the lasso tool, polygonal lasso tool, magnetic lasso tool. You have the magic wand. You have the quick selection tool. And you have, oh wow, it's actually a lot because it's not even talking about the marquee tool. You have the object selection tool. I'm gonna eliminate the word tool off of these. Marquee, rectangular marquee. Marquee, is it called marquee still? Ellipse, rectangular marquee. Oh, can you see by the dawn's early light? Elliptical selection. I think that does it. That's quite a few selection tools. Quite the head count. Excuse me. What does the pointer icon with a pair of scissors mean, and why would you need it? The pointer icon, a pair of scissors, does not show up in Photopia, but in Photoshop it means that by clicking and dragging, the user will remove the selection from the test. No, that's for a test. We gotta talk that stuff out loud. Mm-hmm. So the pointer icon with a pair of scissors means that by clicking and dragging, the user will remove the selection from space in a layer. Remove or cut out from its location in the layer. Why would you need it? This feature can be used to eliminate a selection in its original location and place it in a more desired location, aka it can be used to move it and not leave it where it came from, not duplicate it by holding the option key. That would be the opposite of what we're talking about here. We're not looking for the opposite, we're looking for the actual. You can move 10 pixels at a time. Explain. Oh, snap. Let me see. I do remember it talking about that. There's a vertical and a horizontal variation of this. Let's see. I have my textbook here. I think this is what I'm looking for. No, perhaps not. There are multiple ways to do almost everything in Photoshop. Let me see. Applying content over the patch. Okay, so the way that it might actually be back in this early lesson, but the way that I'm going to explain selecting 10 pixels is by using the zoom key, the zoom command to zoom in to the level where you can see individual pixels, and then using the rectangular marquee tool. That is a method of selecting 10 pixels at once. So I don't think that I've actually even been sharing my document this during the times when I've been completing it. So let me go ahead and share the document. I didn't realize that. I think I was still showing the browser. And move one way to move 10 pixels at a time is to use the zoom tool to magnify the workspace to is to first use the zoom tool to magnify the workspace to a level where individual pixels are distinguishable. Then using the rectangular marquee tool, the user can select 10 individual pixels. That is one way of doing that. I have pixels here, I have the marquee tool selected, and oops, that is the pull, that's the elliptical marquee tool. We don't want that one. Look at that. 10 or so pixels right there. Done. Easy. All right, so what does it mean when you saturate a color? To saturate a color is to increase its vibrance. That's about it. All right, so looking back over my document, I have my name and date. I have PSD files for questions. Excuse me, I have the PSD files for questions 1 through 3. I have the PSD file for the butterfly and the blue butterfly. I also have the PSD file for the planets and the dinosaur. How can you move a selection while you're drawing it? You can hold the spacebar. In order to move a selection while you're drawing it, you can hold the spacebar while you are making the selection. What is the difference between Control D and Command D? The difference between Control D and Command D is that the former is on Windows computers and the latter is on Mac computers. What are the two ways to deselect a selection? Command D or Control D, or you can choose Select, Deselect. How does the magnetic lasso tool work? The magnetic lasso tool works by creating anchor points around the selection as the user draws. Furthermore, the user can click to confirm anchor points while creating the selection. Name the selection tools. The lasso tool, polygonal lasso tool. You can make this a little rap. Magnetic lasso tool, magic wand, quick selection. Let me just remove the tool, the lasso. Lasso, polygonal lasso, magnetic lasso, magic wand, quick selection, object selection, rectangular marquee, and the elliptical selection. Excuse me. What does the pointer icon with a pair of scissors mean? And why would you need it? The pointer icon with a pair of scissors means that by clicking and dragging, the user will remove or cut out the selection from its location in a layer. This feature can be used to eliminate a selection in its original location and place it in a more desired location in that same layer. It doesn't have to be in the same layer though, because you could actually click and drag and place, drop it in another layer in the layers bar, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to just say a different location. You can move 10 pixels at a time. Explain. One way to move 10 pixels at a time is to first use the zoom tool to magnify the workspace to a level where individual pixels are distinguishable. Then, using the rectangular marquee tool, the user can select 10 individual pixels. What does it mean to saturate a color? To saturate a color is to increase its vibrance. All right. Oh boy. The term resolution refers to the number of small squares known as pixels that describes an image and establishes detail. Resolution is determined by pixel dimensions. I'm actually checking on the textbook about this 10 pixel question. Ultimately, I know there are multiple ways of selecting 10 pixels. And I suppose I will stick with the one I provided. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and conclude this recording. Make sure I've shown everything I need to show. I have my document completed from top to bottom, and I'm now going to move on to. So I've started my screen recording. I've verbally explained everything I've done, and now I'm going to submit it on Moodle and submit your test in Moodle and upload your screen recording to this YouTube account with that username and password. After you upload your assignment, email and text me the link. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and thank you.